Okay, well, banks have started releasing their earnings this season, and ANZ proved to be a huge buy for NAB traders. Gemma Dale from nabtrade joins the program to discuss what's piquing the interest of NAB traders this week. Gemma, thank you for joining us at the desk. I hope you've had a lovely week. What have your clients been doing? I gather that the volumes are still pretty solid.
Yeah, they're really solid actually. It's been an interesting year, right? Because we came off 2 extraordinary years for volume where people were building portfolios for a lifetime, really, throwing everything at the market. And then the beginning of this year, we saw a real sort of shift away from that behavior, a lot of trimming in January. January was the day everyone went, right, that's it, just gonna take a bit off the table now. Yeah. I've had some fun. Now I'm going to settle down a bit.
Go back to the office or something.
Yeah. Well, it could be that, maybe. I don't know. And so cash books started rising. Everyone started to just sort of settle down a bit. And volumes really, really fell. And they fell quite dramatically through the year. And also we've had this shift toward, I'll call it profit taking. There was no panic selling at any point, really. We don't see that at all. We didn't see it during COVID, and we certainly haven't seen it this year. It's mostly people trimming out of things that have done really well. So they're trimming out of Woodside and they're trimming out of Whitehaven. They're not selling off stuff that got hurt. They gave up on Zip and a couple of other bits and pieces, but they were trimming the stuff that they had sort of done incredibly well out of, sat in cash, took their dividends in cash, that kind of stuff. So there's sort of far more conservative behaviour has come through really strongly this year. And yet now volumes are starting to rise a bit. People, I think, are starting to feel that they're getting a bit more clarity about where we're at. Market's been off 10% for quite a while. We see these little bounces, but not much is happening, right? They don't feel maybe that cataclysmic fall they've been hoping for. They were kind of hoping we'd have a US type situation, off 20, 30%, everyone can pile back in again. It hasn't really happened here. So they're just seeing more specific opportunities now, and they're like, oh, well, I'll just take the things that I like. I won't wait for the massive sell-off, it might not come. So ANZ, that was super exciting for everybody, right? Volumes were massive and the values were really high as well. So ANZ was absolutely huge. Our guys do traditionally love banks. It's very common with the retail investors. ANZ is always by far the least interesting to our guys. They've had no interest in it at all. So it's NAB, CBA, Westpac. Westpac's been the big pick for the last couple of years. It's been the one they were most excited about. Hasn't played out very well at all for them, frankly, during that period. And then ANZ sort of, long way down the path. So it is the one they're going to buy if it looks okay, just because they don't have any at the moment. If you want to diversify your banks, for example, then huge amounts of it. Loved it. But then sold CBA, 102.
Well, that's what I say. So are they basically just like selling the winners and just buying the losers on the assumptions like, well, this is overvalued compared to the average, this is undervalued compared to the average. Well, let's see if it just sort of returns to the mean.
Yeah, there's a lot of return to the mean strategy in our bank. They've been playing that with Westpac mostly. That's what they were doing. They're like, it's been such a laggard for a while. Let's just wait for it to come back. As I said, didn't play out very well. Then again, NAB was the laggard for such a long time, right? That's played out very well for our guys. They've enjoyed that a lot. And we do find when it's up where it is now, like that $31, $32 makes them really nervous. It's quite mixed though. NAB we would normally see quite heavy selling at this price. They've seen that
saying
before.
That. In fact, I quote you frequently now. I hope you're happy to know, perhaps. But every time I see NAB go over $30, and especially when it drops below 29, I say, well, Gemma Dale, you know what she said. NAB traders do this, and but they're holding on to it now.
Yeah, they're kind of like, oh, maybe it'll go, maybe we'll get back to the heady days of 35. NAB they're kind of quite mixed on. ANZ they're buying. CBA 102 is too much now. Apparently 110 was fine, but 102 is too much, we're going to get out. And then Westpac, they're like, it's not that interesting. Don't worry about it.
Right, interesting. Okay, what about in terms of AGL? A lot of bullishness there, I can tell. And Medibank has been in the news, also one that clients are perhaps trying to pick up a bit.
Neither of them are really common. Medibank, I couldn't tell you the last time I saw it in top 30, right? It's very unusual to see it in the numbers. It's obviously in the headlines for all the wrong reasons, but our guys love something on weakness that they think has an opportunity to bounce back.
It's a nice trade, basically.
It's a trade. Sometimes they'll pick it up thinking, I actually quite like this company, but now it's cheap enough for me to buy it and I'll hold it for long term. But Medibank's right in there as a strong buy. And AGL is fascinating to me. I mean, anyone who was holding it up until sort of the last 12 months has had a horrendous period, right? Just dreadful. 5-year numbers are horrific. So and we do have that sort of fairly strong buy and hold tendency. So it's not been very popular. Now everyone loves it, right? Get a bit of an upgrade and everybody's all over it. 99% buy.
Yeah, unbelievable.
It's mad.
Evolution, though, the perhaps loser of the bunch at the moment when it comes to client behaviour.
Yeah, no, not so keen. But again, sometimes our guys will just be trimming to go, I've got enough of that, or it's fine. So there's a little bit, we'll put that to one side, right?
Yeah.
Rotate into AGL.
Just get your AGL, load up. What do they say? Fill your boots.
Yeah.
What about with some of the miners, FMG and BHP? Kind of interesting because iron ore prices, I understand, dropped to a 2-year low overnight. The share price has been relatively resilient recently, obviously a long way off the highs. How are clients approaching it?
I find this, so I put them a long way down my notes today for the simple reason that I talk about them all the time.
Of course.
It's really been all materials most of this year, right? So it's been top 10 is like 90% materials. With the big guys and then lithium. Like that's pretty much all anyone did this year. It was kind of like, hey, but they've been having great fun.
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun. It's been fantastic. And nice to go, well, we are part of the world where not everything is dark and dreadful. We can play the decarbonisation trend. We can be part of something new and exciting. Or we can just keep digging up iron ore, that's fine too. Either way, we're good. We've got something in our portfolios that's going to keep us going. And if we want to trade it, it's fun as well. Fortescue's always in there, right? But it's a daily trade. It's not a buy and hold. It's a daily trade, massive trade sizes, same small cohort who really know what they're doing. So it doesn't really matter too much what the price is doing as long as you're moving fairly actively to participate in that and you've got enough money moving in and out in order to make it work. Still massively profitable at current levels, right? It's not like, we're sitting at $27 a tonne or something. Like the guys are doing incredibly well. So it's still, for anyone who is holding it longer term, they're doing just fine. Yeah. And for the guys who are trading it, they're having a lovely time. BHP, it's core holding and, that's moving at the margin pretty much always. And then lithium's just fun, right? They love it so much. Core lithium's a big one at the moment, but that's changes every week.
Yeah, I was going to say, people just piling into lithium because you do look at the price action, you're just kind of like, whoa.
Yeah,
it just keeps going. You're like, I just wonder if everyone's just surging in now. We're getting that kind of crowd mentality.
It's an interesting one. I mean, I felt like there was a crowd mentality around lithium well over 12 months ago. So you feel like it's like
the crowd keeps getting bigger.
Maybe it's a bigger crowd now. It could be that.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a relatively specific group who are just having a lot of fun there, and they are rotating quite a bit.
Yeah.
Today it'll be core, tomorrow it'll be Pilbara. Maybe I'll just go further down. We'll have a bit of fun with it. They've made so much money, right? Everyone's having a lot, and in a market where there's not much else you're making a lot of money out of, it's been fun, and I think people are enjoying it. The longer term thematics there, so a lot of people are just kind of tucking it away in their portfolio. So the holdings are growing quite dramatically over time, but the activity is the traders. So like over time, there's always a few people who are just buying and tucking it away. It's hard to know when to take profits. That's probably the biggest issue for people. Like,
well,
I was going to get out of Pilbara Minerals like $2 ago, but I'll just keep it.
Yeah. Well, as long as it sounds like there's plenty of liquidity there, so the traders will be happy with what they're seeing. But a lot of high value selling in international shares. What's this? Clearly, been talking all day about the tech wreck that's going on in the United States, if I may call it that. But there's also obviously China and other things as well. So people are kind of, backing out from the rest of the world.
It's so fascinating. It's always been a long-term accumulation strategy offshore. It's
more costly, right, to trade it.
It's relatively inexpensive compared to 10 years ago, right? Well, you've got to have the time, and if you're going to actively trade it, you want to be sitting there watching it all night, which is a fairly big commitment for most people. So for most of our investors and traders who are very much Australian-based and they're not sitting there watching it overnight, you want to have something you can hold at least for a few days. You don't want to see it fall 20% overnight, which might have been what happened to some of your portfolio. So they want to be holding stuff that is relatively long-term for the broad population. We have a small group who are absolutely running it overnight, watching their books. Yeah, absolutely, right? But also, it'll make you an insomniac. If you weren't one before, you are now. And so they're having a lot of fun with it, and they're enjoying that. A lot of those guys will be playing directional stuff, so they're quite highly leveraged, but they're having they're making big bets one way or the other, and they're quite active in that. But for most people, it's been this long-term accumulation, and yet we've seen some very high value selling out of things. So selling out of PayPal, which I find quite interesting. Out of some of the directional ones, China people are pretty mixed on. So there was a lot of Baba and Tencent and all those sorts of things for a while there, and now they're like, I don't know if I want to hold that anymore. I feel like there's just a fair amount of reg risk plus a whole lot of bonus volatility that I just don't know if I can play. And then Tesla, which I just keep buying.
Just keep buying. They're still just buying the dip in Tesla.
So you say buying the dip, but they were also buying the peak. So they're just buying.
They're just buying. Yeah, they're buying.
There's no consistency. Yeah.
Because that's my wild theory is that like once we see just people lose hope on Tesla, then that's like, you know, the retail crowd just really in despair because like, I mean, past life I was in a retail broker as well. And it was the same thing. It's just kind of like, oh, Tesla's results were bad. Let's buy Tesla. Tesla's results were good. Let's buy Tesla. You know?
Yes. Whatever the question, the answer is Tesla, and that is what I'm going to buy. It's been so consistent. People love it. They're not huge trade sizes. They just keep accumulating it. Yeah. At some point, it won't work anymore, and that's going to be very interesting. You're right. Like that'll be the capitulation stock, and then.
Okay, we'll keep an eye out for that then potentially, and maybe we'll be able to talk about it on the desk. Gemma, really great to get your insights on a Friday. Have a lovely weekend. Gemma Dale from nabtrade.
Thank you so much.